Hello and welcome to my channel. I am Stephanie. This is the week 49 weekly wrap-up video for December the 1st through the 7th. As I said, this is the weekly wrap-up video for December the 1st through the 7th, which makes it week 49, which means the year's almost over. I'm gonna keep repeating that until the year is over. It's ridiculous, you guys, ridiculous. This week was not a stellar reading week for me because I had to deal with, let's see, this side, yep, had to deal with this little lump right here that I've been on antibiotics for like the last couple days, and the only thing that it's done is make me irritable. And my husband wants to choke me because he's like, you've been real snippy. And I'm pretty sure it's because of the antibiotics. I don't feel good. I feel like, you know, whatever. I am like showered and changed because I was going to get up this morning to get this video out for you guys, to remain consistent and everything like that, let you know what I read last week and all that good stuff. And then I have to go to a swim meet because it was a swim meet weekend, and that I can't miss. I don't miss my swim meets unless it has something book related, and that's only like once or twice a year. So I had to come downstairs. I was gonna not shower, do anything, but then I was like, gotta be out the house by like 9 o'clock in the morning, and then not sure exactly when I will come back home, so better go down, better get showered, then go down, record the video, and then try and get some of it edited before we leave at 9 o'clock. Yeah, so now that all that jibber jabber is out of the way on what's going on in my life and why I only got 8 books read this week, and lots of you guys are gonna be like, 8 books? That's still great, Steph. That what? Why are you sniffing at 8 books? Because for the last, like, I don't know, 6 or 7 weeks now, I've been like killing some numbers in the book reading. I'm still at home, so I'm still getting like 8 to 10 hours worth of reading per day. But you know, it should probably be slowing down because I have a lot of editing to do for all of the videos that are going to be coming out in December that are pre-recorded. But you guys know that and things like that. So the 8 books that I read last week. Started off finishing Payback, Harris Brothers spin-off by Amy Daws. I place this in contemporary. I give it 5 stars. I give it 4 Steam fans. I listened to it on audiobook, and this is just as sexy, fun, funny, sweet, caring, emotional as the other books within the series. And this one follows Alice and Ronan. Or Roan, excuse me. Alice is a Harris Brothers cousin, and this is her story about the one-night stand she had during one of their weddings, and then she ends up having a pretty bad breakup with her boyfriend and her stepsister, all kinds of drama there, but she ends up moving to England with, you know, the rest of her family to sort of get to know that side of her family. So she is a dual citizen, American and British. And so when she moves back to Britain, to England, she starts to, you know, get in with the family, sort of get family history, start feeling, you know, that family sort of persona or that family feeling, just family, yes, family. And Roan is a footballer from South Africa that is playing in the team, or on the team, that the elder, the father of the Harris Brothers, is managing. He is the manager for it, and I really enjoyed this book. This is a interracial. Our Roan is biracial. When there is a portion of it where they visit South Africa again and visit Roan's black side of their family, and there's some history in there, and it was just like, oh, that was just, oh, it was so touching so touching and so emotional to go through that. And I really enjoyed that portion of it. Really enjoyed that book. The next book that I finished was Play Me by Dukey and Webster. I place this in dark romance novella, and I give this one 5 stars. I give this one 5 Steam fans. I read it as an ARC. It has been released, so you guys can go check it out. I will say there are content warnings all over the place on this one. If you cannot handle any type of dark BDSM play or themes or what have you, please stay away from this book. There is a warning in the beginning of the book as well, but I'm saying this for your safety as well. There's rough fantasy play that is introduced into this story, and I don't want to harm anyone that, you know, that may watch this and say, hey, this cover looks great and I might want to, this is what's going, it's not a spoiler for what's going on in it, but it's heavy. I, myself, my little dark heart, really enjoyed this book. I think that they handled the rough play and fantasy of it in a safe way and explained it along the way about why it was, or why it could be harmful for other people. But yes, so Quinn is our main female character. She has a event happen to her while she is walking home from a college party, and she is traumatized from that. Several years later, she decides to explore a way to not get over, but to understand her trauma and sort of, I guess you could say, find power from what happened to her when she was in college all those years ago. And Joshua is a club owner, and when she emailed him, he was like, no, we can't. If anyone's going to handle this request, it's going to be me. That he was going to take on this situation himself. And once he meets her, he figures out that, you know, yeah, he might want to help her out. And this is sort of their story. It does have a bit of a play on Little Red Riding Hood and the Big Bad Wolf, and I really enjoyed that aspect. I don't know if you guys, for those other ones that have read it, have, you know, caught on to that, but I did. I liked it. That is another reason why I really enjoyed this story. But I think it was handled in a very interesting manner. I do appreciate the other characters that we have seen in the past from the Kinky collection. I think that's what it's called. By Kerr and Kay, mixing into this story as well. They don't overwhelm it. It is a story about Quinn and Josh, but, you know, you get to see other characters, and I really enjoy that part. The next book that I finished was The Bad Guy by Celia Aaron, and I place this in dark romance. I give it 4.5 stars. I give it 4 Steam fans. I slyly ended up reading this for Tistheseasonathon for the category of music song title. What? Yes.
So you're a tough guy, like you're really rough guy. Just can't get enough guy, just always a buff guy. I'm that bad type, make your mama sad type, make your girlfriend mad type, might seduce your dad type. I'm the bad guy. Duh.
Oh, yes, that. Okay, so let me get into this book. It was super crazy because initially I was like, I don't know that I'm going to like this book because, yes, Sebastian is a psychopath. He's a psychopath. He's crazy. That is why it did lose a point for, or part of a star, because that was constantly brought up within the story, was that he was a psychopath and that he, they kept referencing the actual book American Psycho. So that kind of got a little overwhelming. I was like, okay, I get it. It's sort of inspired by the story, sort of inspired by that book. Okay, got it. This character is that. But Camille is a botany science teacher, and she works at this private school. Sebastian notices her, and then he ends up kidnapping her. I mean, I don't think that's really a spoiler. So he kidnaps her, and this is them, like, figuring out that maybe they are good for each other, and you really don't want to enjoy Sebastian because he really is the villain of this story. But the way that it is sort of laid out there, I found it really, really interesting, and I ended up really enjoying it. The next book that I finished was Strength, Lost in London #2 by Amy Daws. I placed this in New Adult. Now, I give it 4.5 stars. I give it 4 Steam fans. I listened to it as an audiobook, and this is the sister of the Harris brothers. Now, this book actually has a Harris brothers looking cover. However, it is with a different series, and this is Vi's and Hayden's story. You see Vi and Hayden after they have been together, and you just kind of want to know their story throughout the Harris Brothers series, and this is how they became Vi and Hayden. This is how they got together, how they had all these different issues and things like that when they were younger, and how they worked them out, and I was just so here for it. There is some content warning for attempted suicide, depression, and some other family things that are going on, dynamics and stuff like that. I just really, really enjoyed it, and I have been wanting this story for Vi since I started the Harris Brothers series, and I'm so glad that I read it. It was emotional and sweet and funny and just all the things that I loved about the Harris Brothers, and I have now completed the entire Harris Brothers series, and, or no, I have one more book, but I'm still, yes, that clan is like amazing, and I love them so very much. The next book that I finished was Snowed In with the Boss by Lili Valente. I placed this in erotic novella. I give it 5 stars. I give it 5 Steam fans. I read it as an audiobook, and I read it for Tistheseasonathon's 2 challenges. One of snow on the cover, and the second was to read a book while eating holiday food. I read this during my sprint hosting duties on Wednesday, and it was perfect. So perfect. It fit perfectly within the 2 hours that I hosted, and I finished it just before the last sprint was done, and it was hot, it's steamy, it's short. It does say that it's part of a series, but you don't have to. I didn't see that I had to read any of the other series to understand and enjoy this one. In this one, you have Ten, who is a billionaire mogul, and his secretary Jane. Very plain names. Loved it. Loved that aspect of it because it's a novella and I didn't need to like get to really know anything about them. Jane has been fantasizing about Ten for a long time, and they end up getting snowed in together and at the office because they work late at the office a lot anyways. But they get snowed in, and he sort of introduces her. She's always wanted to be in to the dominant submissive sort of relationship type thing, and he was like, okay, you want to be introduced to it? Not a problem. We can do this. And yes. Loved it. Loved it. The next book that I finished was Insolent by Cynthia A. Rodriguez. I placed this in dark romance. I give it 3.5 stars. I give it 3 Steam fans. I read this as an arc. It's part of the Sinister Fairy Tales collection that have been coming out about fairy tales that are being retold in a dark and twisted, reimagined way. And this one follows Moira, and Soul. And Moira is sort of inspired by Merida from Brave, and I felt the inspiration. However, I think that the author fell a little flat with this story just because I think she was worried about the story being too like the movie or the story. and instead of really twisting it up and reimagining it, it just kind of fell flat for me. It was more like a skimmed informational sort of story than a put together story. I mean, I enjoyed it, but because the first like part of the story, the prologue, was like jaw dropping. I was like, oh yes, we's about to get into it. It's about to go down. I was like, yes, I was so here for the beginning, that very first prologue. I was like, yes, yes. I posted about it and everything like that. And then as I read, I was just like, okay, yeah. So it was enjoyable. I'm sure other people are going to find it very entertaining. It just kind of fell flat for me. The next book that I finished was The Dating Charade by Melissa Ferguson. I place this in Christian romance. I give it 3 stars. I give it no Steam fans. None whatsoever. I read this as an ARC from NetGalley, and I am adding this into my Tistheseasonathon challenge for holiday themes. And this book follows Cassie and Jet. Cassie is... okay. Gonna get into this just a little bit. Cassie is this white lady that runs a girls' activities, after school activity center. Now, I think I would have handled it a little bit more or better had Cassie not been a white character. Because I'm pretty sure she's a white character. Pretty sure. Because at one point in the story, she talks about how she had to Google doing African American hair. Now, that brings me to the point that this book felt very white savior type of narrative, and I'm not for it. It wasn't bashing over the head of that sort of theme, but at the same time, you could definitely feel it in there. And once I finished it, I now realize that the author, why there wasn't any steam, for one. Like, they didn't kiss until the end of the book. Like, legit, they didn't kiss until the end of the book. And there are no sex scenes in it whatsoever. None. The author is actually has degrees in Bible studies, theology, things like that. So, yeah. And then there's some scenes within the book where they're at church and they talk about how the girls that Cassie ends up fostering for a little while, how they feel out of place because the church is white. Yeah. And the girls ended up coming to Cassie because one night she's driving home and she decides to go check on the girls, and they're getting taken away by child services. And the house that they lived in was a mess, and, so, yeah. It was an enjoyable story. Oh, and let me get to Jet. Jet is our main male character. He's a firefighter, and he works across the street. The fire station is across the street from the girls' center. And Jet and Cassie knew each other when they were in high school. But they're like 4 years apart. He's 4 years younger than her. So Jet has this drug-addicted sister that comes and drops her kids off with him. So now he's a single firefighter living with another firefighter that has to take care of 3 infants. So this breeds one of the sort of issues that the two of them have. By the way, they reconnected during a dating app in which Cassie ended up, she had a hard time with that, her dating system. Because that's how the story sort of starts out. This is probably a really jumbled review right now because there's so much that was going on. It was not what I thought I was getting into. I thought I was getting a fun dating story, but it turned into a adoption, foster, addiction, black, white sort of story. So yeah, I'm just gonna leave it at that. But it happened over the holidays. It started off during Christmas time. There's a Christmas scene, there's a New Year's Eve scene, there's a Valentine's Day scene. Yeah. And the final book that I read last week was Dr. Dave by Abby Knox. And this is an erotic short story. I give it 4 stars. I give it 4 Steam fans. I listened to it on the podcast of Read Me Romance. Read Me Romance. And this book follows Millie, who is a night security guard. She listens to Dr. Dave, who is our main male character, on a radio show. He gives sex advice on this radio show, and she ends up getting to call in. She is like a almost 30-year-old virgin, and yeah, then they end up hooking up. There's a creepy guy that works at the mall that she is a security guard for, and there's issues there. It is hot. It is hot. But yeah, that's all I kind of got from the story. I did enjoy it though. It was enjoyable. It was a little hot and steamy. So, on to what I am currently reading. I am currently reading Landon and Shay Part 2 by Brittany C. Cherry. This book just released. I did not receive an art copy for it, so it's on my list of things to read here next week, so that I can tell you guys if the second part of the story was just as emotional as the first part of the story. And it follows Landon and Shay, who had some issues in the first book. They both needed to deal with some mental health things that were going on in family, and hopefully this continues on with their journey as they're adults. And the other book that I am currently reading, is Her First Kiss by MJ Fields. This story is a little different for me. I'm really having some feelings about it. I'm listening to it as an audiobook, and I read the 2 preceding books. At least I think I did, but I'm starting to think that I didn't, because there are a whole bunch of characters in this book, and that I'm like, wait, how did that person, how does this one connect? And I don't know. Yeah. So those are the 2 books that I am currently reading. Let me know if you have read any of the books that I have read last week. Are there any books that sound interesting that you're going to go check out? Let me know down in the comment section. Let's talk about them. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please give me a big thumbs up. There is a feedback form down in the description box so you guys can help me improve my videos. There's also all my socials and affiliate links down there in there as well. It's nothing against you guys. It doesn't add any cost to you. It just gives me a couple pennies in my pocket if you guys use my affiliate links. Yeah. I also am trying to set up the storefront so that you guys can see the books that I read, from all the months and stuff like that, all in one place. So if you wanted to go out and purchase them, you could. Whew, I think that's it. I will see you guys later. Thank you for watching. Bye.